My name is Rich Hatfield, and as Jenny said, I work for the Xerces Society for Invertebrate Conservation. We're a Portland-based nonprofit, but we work internationally, and we've been around for about 41 years. We started after a butterfly that lived in the California Bay Area called the Xerces blue butterfly went extinct. And Bob Pyle started this organization 41 years ago because he realized that there were very few people that were concerned about insects. A lot of people think about insects and invertebrates as pests, and that's true of about 1.5% of insects. But insects make up over half of the animals on the planet in terms of the number of species, and over 90% of the actual number of animals out there, but there are hardly any organizations working on them. Our organization is really the primary organization that focuses on insects, and we have three focuses. We have an endangered species program that works with at-risk species. We have a pollinator program that focuses on pollinator rehabilitation, and we have an aquatics program that works on mosquito control and dragonflies and that group. But I'm here to talk to you a little bit about pollinators today, and why we should care about pollinators. Well, the real reason the answer to that question is food security. Pollinators provide our food for us. 1 out of every 3 bites of food that you put into your body comes from a plant that was pollinated by an animal. And usually, almost always, that animal was a bee. And why are bees such good pollinators? Well, because bees feed their young pollen. So they're actively collecting pollen from flowers and delivering it from flower to flower, and therefore setting fruit, or helping those plants set fruit, and which provides our food for us. And this means the direct food like tomatoes that we eat, but they also pollinate clover, and cows eat clover. So without clover, we also wouldn't have many of the meat that a lot of people on this planet eat. So literally 1 out of every 3 bites of food that you eat comes from a plant that was pollinated by a bee. And when you put a dollar amount on that, you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry. So bees essentially mean billions of dollars to our country, but they also mean food security for you and me. Now, why should we be concerned about bees? I see bees everywhere. A lot of people say that to me. I see bees all over the place. Why should we be concerned about them? Well, if you take a look at a map of our country, over the last 200 years, we have pretty much changed almost 90% of the land. So there isn't really that much native habitat. Most of our native bees actually nest in the ground. And because of agricultural practices and other things, a lot of that ground gets plowed up, and our native bees have nowhere to nest anymore. All of our prairies and all of our meadows have been converted into agriculture. So the very place that we're trying to grow our food, at the same time we're destroying the habitat where the bees need to live. So they need our attention. They also have lots of other threats. Pesticides. Many of you have probably heard about the pesticides that are threatening bees recently, especially this new class of pesticides called neonicotinoids. So there's really a many threats to bees, and we need them for our future. Really, our food security depends on them. So a lot of people then ask, what can you do? Well, you can do a lot. Even on a small piece of property like this, you can do lots of things. Essentially, bees need 3 things to live. They need a place to build their nest, they need food to eat, and they need a pesticide-free environment. With those 3 things, you are creating habitat for bees. You can get more specific about what kind of nest areas do they need? Well, bare ground. So we make a joke because we work on a lot of farms all over the country, and a lot of farmers sort of have ugly brush piles, and we often put these signs by their brush piles because it may look unkempt, but that's good habitat for bees. Leaving nests, leaving brush piles and stems and wood for bees to build their nests in is really important. Leaving bare ground is very important. You can also build nest blocks and lots of other things, and there are many suggestions, but nest sites are super important. And then also the food part. Bees need food from the early spring to the late fall. It's really important to plan your garden just like we like to see it. We like to have flowers from early spring to late fall. bees need that same source of pollen and nectar from the early spring to the late fall. So they need that source. So plan your garden so that you have things that are blooming throughout the year. And then for our children and for the bees and for other animals, please limit the use of pesticides. Those are really the three major things that you can do. And once you have that, you could put this same sign up in your yard saying you're certified pollinator habitat. A lot of our work over the last several years has been converting tens of thousands of acres in North America to pollinator habitat. And from that work, we've created this book called Attracting Native Pollinators. It has many suggestions about nest blocks and types of plants that are really good for pollinators. And we'd like to donate this and the sign to the garden. The Xerces Society would like to. So I'd really like to thank you for inviting me out here to talk with you today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or just be around. But I'd really like to make this gift to the garden. So thanks for having me.